this for your CA3. So to take note of that. The brief is not out yet. I'm going to try to write it out after your class today. So the aim is to get it out by before the end of this evening. Okay, so that's that. You can download these notes and follow along the demo. The notes has links to online links to where I actually got all this information from. So basically, I went through the video tutorials there, and then just double check on the validity of things, and also to make sure that there's any technical issues that you might find it difficult to figure out, and I try to clarify things along the way. And there are things that is like because of version changes in software, so the approach might be just the buttons looks differently and stuff. Okay. So that's that. So when it comes to cloth, right, when dealing with real-time engine cloth, there are obviously more than one way of doing the things, and then you have to decide which is the best for different situation. So right out of the bat, there's actually three options lah. Okay, one is in Unity itself, there is some kind of a cloth system. Okay, in Maya is what we call soft body system, soft body simulation. So Unity has that, so that's one way of approaching it. Another way is to use Alembic Cache, which basically you do the simulated animation of the cloth with the Maya system, and then you export out something with, to a format called Alembic Cache, which then can be used in Unity again to be animated. The option is shader graph. Okay, shader graph, in a way, the approach to doing with the shader graph is similar to doing the C wave. So that's why I'm not covering it this week, since next week you're going to deal with the C wave thing. And also, personally, I feel that well, at least from my research, what is available in the more simple format, right? The outcome that you can get from simple shader graph to get cloth animation or flag-like animation, right? It doesn't give a super organic feel. It has a certain kind of pattern, repeated pattern that you can see if you have trained eyes lah. Then it doesn't look as nice, as random in the way that the cloth flow around in the air. So that's why I'm not covering it in this week. But the concept is similar to the C wave approach. So when we cover next week, you can look at that, and then who knows, maybe you want to do that with cloth, then you can do it. Okay, so that's the general spiel of how you can approach cloth for real-time engine. So I'm going to begin with the first method using the Unity inbuilt cloth system. Okay, this one is already recorded and it's in mail already, so I'm not going to record for this one. So in Maya, I have this thing created, this mesh cloth, which basically is just a plain, then scaled to elongated rectangle, and then subdivided in such a way that all these edge loops, right, will create more or less a squarish pattern, as squarish as possible. Don't make sure that it's not like not a rectangle for each of these faces. As to how many, it's really up to you. You want the cloth to be more flowy and organic, then obviously you need more vertices lah. Okay, but with more vertices means in the real-time engine, it will take up a bit more memory for the calculation. So there's pros and cons as to how high your resolution should go. It all depends on whether how close this band or this banner is going to be seen. Okay, and for this method, it works well with definitely with the hanging down vertical kind of cloth banner like stuff. As to whether it will work with the horizontal, horizontal elongated kind of cloth or flags, right? You have to try it out. I can't say for sure that it will be as responsive. You might need to tinker a lot with the parameters to achieve what you want to achieve lah. So but for now, just to show you how to deal with it for an elongated banner like thing. So this mesh as it is, just like that. Then obviously there's textures. There's these two poles, vertical and horizontal pole. All three meshes are separate. Okay, they're not combined. Okay, take note of that. But in terms of the UV, when they're laid out, UV editor, they are laid out in such a way that the cloth is taking only a half, the other is taking the other half. So if I choose all three of them, it's something like this. Okay. And with this, you can go and substance paint if you want to. If not, if you go to the traditional way of using Photoshop to paint, you can actually choose all this, right? Then in UV editor, sorry. Is there a way I can move this thing away? Yeah, I try to move this guy. Okay, I'll move it out. Let me move it out. That thing is just keep bothering me. Okay. So let me see. Then we go to the UV editor. In UV editor, there is something called in the image, right? There is something called UV snapshot. You can snapshot this thing, and you will have some kind of like a layout of this UV. So right now, I'm going to put it in, send it out to the desktop, PNG format. By default, it's Maya IFF. So best to change it to PNG. Then the sizing for something just this particular prop itself, I'm just going to use 512. No need to overkill to 1K. Then that's that. Then we just apply. And once that's done, there should be, yep, this is the UV snapshot comes up. Okay. And we go to Photoshop. Photoshop. Close this guy. Along the way, if you have any question, can just ask or can interject on, no problem. Let's see. So let's say I pull this guy in, open out like that. This is 512 by 512. And basically I've done something, and with this thing, you can start to paint for sure that this is the cloth area, and this one is the rod area, and then you just paint that. So you can actually manually paint. You don't have to always depend on Substance Painter. Obviously, this method, you can't get the normal maps on stuff because it's kind of difficult for you to paint normal maps. So pros and cons, so you have to decide on that. Then let me see. So I did painted something before. I'm just going to try to open out that file and then overlay it just to let you see. This one, just going to open this guy. Select all, Control C, and then I just overlay. I just want to overlay and let you see how it looks like. Okay. Get the idea. Okay. And then with this thing, you can. Actually, anyway, never mind. With this, you can just save this file, right, as a PNG. And with PNG, anything that is, all this transparent area, right, there will be an alpha. It's a PNG has something called embedded alpha. It will be saved in the file, but the strange thing is it doesn't show down here as an alpha. But usually there is an alpha channel, but for PNG, right, it doesn't show a alpha channel here. It's the alpha information is actually embedded. Okay, which could cause some problems, which I'll show you what is it. Let's see. So I'm going to close Photoshop already. This part should be covered. Any question about texturing in Photoshop? In case you are like not familiar with texturing with Photoshop for like quick situation, instead of like everything must depend on Substance Painter. Okay, questions? No, okay. How come my Photoshop is still on? Don't save. Okay. So, if you look at my material setup, I have one material that I set up, and basically have the. If you look at this, when I do the connection for the color, right? Like I press this checkerbox and then try to connect the PNG, right? Automatically, it will actually connect the alpha to the transparency. Okay, the embedded alpha. Okay. The funny thing about how PNG works is somehow when by default, right, in Maya, right, the renderer, the viewport 2.0, this transparency algorithm, right, by default, if I go to preset and then say go to default settings, by default is object sorting. And when it's in object sorting mode, right, you see there is this weird X-ray field going on for any mesh that has a transparency kind of texture or embedded alpha texture that is applied to it. It's kind of weird that it has this thing going on. And also even for the pole, right, you notice that, hey, how come I can see through one? Can you see that? People, can I get a response? Or am I just having illusions? Can you see that? It's like, hey, got X-ray, hey. Hey, no response from the students. Like talking to myself. Okay. Okay, then you see you want to solve this problem, you go to AlphaCut and it will solve it. Okay, so take note in Maya, that's how you solve it. You go to render, viewport 2.0, option box, changes to AlphaCut. Took me a while to figure this out, trying to find solutions through forums and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm sharing this so that you can save your time. Okay. So that's that. And then after that, once you have done this, also make sure that all this, right, is freeze transform, delete history, all clean. Then you can choose all three of them, go export, export selection. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go export selection down here. You're going to export a FBX format, and then make sure that all these things, as usual, you should know already by now, especially this thing. And then one super important thing is the embed media. This one will actually will bring the material and the texture that is connected to this mesh into the FBX so that it can be, those information can be extracted out in Unity. Okay, questions so far?
Not yet.
Huh? No question?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. So then that's done for the Maya part. We're going to Unity now. Whoa, Unity. Close Photoshop. Okay, Unity, I'm going to add for your class one. I should have another project open up for your class. Okay. Open. Okay. So I'm going to bring the FBX into here. So let me see where the also when I was building that banner, right, I did bring in this UE4 guy as a human scale comparison gauge, and then I kind of constructed the banner to match his size lah, huh? So that's quite important. See, where is my, the heck, where did it go, okay, here it is. Where's the banner? Okay, banner. So we're going to meshes, the mesh, in the asset folders, I have a mesh folder. Put the banner in. So you have the banner. If I open it up, there's more things inside. Just wait for it to generate the thumbnail. Takes a while. Okay, then you have all this stuff. Then I'm going to pull this banner thing into the hierarchy. Pull it, move. Ah, move it. I'm just going to move it somewhere around here. Okay, and then let me see what I need to do. I'm going to prefab it. So just go prefab, original prefab. Okay. Then now it's the materials. We want to, okay, go back to the mesh, right? You see this banner. There are a lot of things like, but the first one, right? If you go and look at on this side, the inspector here, there is this all these things that you can extract from materials. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so extract material. So go to the materials folder. So you choose this one, extract a material, then it becomes pink color. I notice right now, right? Previously it was casting shadow. Now it's not casting shadow for some reason. So later we'll sort that out. Extract texture. Go to the textures folder, which is something that you created lah. Just go texture, extract. Then that's done. So now I go to my materials. There should be a banner material. I'm going to attach the texture there. Where's my texture? And then I pull this texture over to the base map. Obviously, if you have, ooh, what happened? Okay, that's strange. Okay, and then after that, how come it's still pink color? Never mind. Go to the materials. And then this guy apply to this guy, and then that's it. And then also apply to the rods. The pole, sorry. Okay. Oh, but it's still not casting shadow. Strange, right? So now we go in. Can I frame it? Yeah, frame. So in the materials, right, by default, this material that was extracted out for some reason is set to transparent. Okay, maybe because of the alpha channel, or not really alpha, the embedded alpha. So this one, if you change it to opaque, right, then it will cast shadow. But if you change it to opaque, there's this issue of this, what happened with this tethering thing is gone. It's not good. Fear not, we have this alpha clipping thing. Turn it on, and that thing will happen. Okay, and wow, look at that. The shadow also have that tethering, so nice. And then you can play the threshold. Oh, then you can adjust that. Oh, and now you see the render face type. It only has front, so you can't see the back. Then you need to change to both. Then you can see it. But with both, right, there's always this issue of this, the back part very shiny, so much more shinier than the front part. So in order to solve that, I usually just push the smoothness down, or this smoothness thing. And that's that. Maybe if you have done this thing with substance paint, you probably could also do like all this metallic map lah and all this stuff. Okay, question so far for this part. We haven't gone to the cloth yet. Okay, so once this done, okay, it's looking okay now. It's all, it doesn't have that, yeah. So it does cast shadow and stuff. What we need to do is we go to the cloth, right? You see there's these two components down here. The funny thing is you need to delete them, okay, before you add the cloth component. So these two, you're going to throw it away. So you go to this hamburger thing. See this hamburger? What? Okay, yeah. This hamburger. Okay. Click on it. Wow, cloth. I'm gonna remove this one first. Then once you remove this one, I kind of disappear. Don't worry about it. Remove. Oh, disappear. Then you have add component, right? Press the add component. Look for cloth. Then you just add cloth. Okay, and this new cloth has two components. Okay, this cloth thing. Then for this skin mesh renderer, right? You have this mesh, and there's also the materials. This is where you will attach the mesh again. So let's see this mesh, right? If you try to pull this from the hierarchy, right, it will not accept it one. So you have to go to the project folder, or the project folder, and then go to this cloth, okay, under the banner, right? But this cloth doesn't work. You have to look for this cloth. Then you pull this one onto this one. Then you see the pink thing come up. Okay. So take note of this one. The banner part, there's two cloth. You need to look for this one. And then for the materials, okay, there's no material now, right? We just go back to the material here and then just pull this material over to here. And then it's done. Let's sort it out. Now this part is the magic. So take note of this portion. Just gonna zoom in a bit more. So now the claw part, right now actually, right, if I were to play, right, this cloth will actually immediately drop down because of gravity. Because there's gravity down here actually. So I'm not gonna play because it's gonna happen so fast. I just show you gravity. Play. Oh, you see, you see drop. Skip. Okay. So now we need to pin the cloth to the pole, right? The horizontal pole. So what we do is, it's kind of strange after you've done this thing, the cloth one will jump upwards. Oh. So we choose this cloth, show you the cloth. There is this particular icon here. It's called the edit cloth constraint. It's kind of strange that it has, oh, I thought it was Mickey Mouse. No, it's not. It's actually a t-shirt. Okay, so you press this button and notice what happens. Now you see a lot of dots. So all these dots are corresponds to each vertices. Okay. So basically the cloth's soft body system, right, will treat all these vertices, these dots, right, and calculate how it responds to, external forces, okay, in the physical manner. Okay, it's like using physics. Okay, so now down here there is this menu that kind of pops up. You need to change it. Now I see the tabs are by default it's like that, right? It's always start off with pane. You need to go to select. Okay, then we select, right, you can choose these 2 points that is supposed to be pinned to the poles, right? The pole, sorry, not the poles. And then you click on this max distance. So this max distance just set, by default is 0, just keep it at 0. And once that's done, you can click on this icon again, edit cloth constraints icon again, and then that's that. And then when you play, wait, before that, let's give some kind of force to it. Down here, there's something called external acceleration. So you can actually increase this. Then random acceleration. Yeah. Press return and then we can play. And then now you see your cloth starting to move. Okay, now this cloth, one thing, if you notice, at least in this case, this guy is supposed to be able to interact with the cloth, right? But nothing is happening. Ew. Okay, that sucks. That defies real world thing. And then you see that also the cloth will cut into the pole, right? Yeah, it's not nice. Okay, so we're going to solve that problem. So escape. Okay, any questions so far?
Wait, sorry, I kind of missed the part where you attach the cloth like vertices to the pole itself.
Okay, so basically you choose this guy, right? The cloth, right? You can press this button. In the inspector, you can look for this cloth component. And then there is this edit cloth constraint button. You click on it, you show all this stuff. Okay. And then basically by default, right, this particular menu down here is at the pane tab. What you want to do is to change it to select tab. And then you select any of these 2 points, right? By default, this thing is not on. This max distance is not on. You need to tick it. Okay, once you tick it, right, make sure that this max distance is set to 0. Okay, basically that what it means is that this particular 2 point, it will not move. Okay, it will not move from its original position. Okay, that's why the max distance is 0. Okay, so then after that, you basically done the pinning already. Then you just click on this button again, and you play, right? This 2 point will be pinned down. Okay, well, the other parts, right, all the other dots, right, which is vertices, like actually, will be affected by the cloth. You know, if you type in all this, like these are like external forces, it will actually move the cloth, the other points, and that is done real time. Okay, it's like physics will actually go and decide what is going to happen to this cloth in real time, in all those vertices. Understand?
Yes, I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So now the problem is the cloth is not interacting properly with the vertical pole as well as to the third person character, right? So we are trying to solve this. And what do you think can solve this thing? From your 3RT, when something falls through the wall, or not falls through the ground, or you can move through a wall, what do you need to do?
Either colliders or rigid body.
Yeah, so easy way would be somehow you need to deal with colliders lah. Okay, so we need some kind of collider thing going on. Okay, so if you notice, right, in cloth, right, there is some that down here, there is capsule colliders as well as sphere colliders. So cloth can only identify capsule or sphere. It doesn't know mesh colliders or not. So make sure that you use capsule or sphere colliders. So for the vertical pole, we would need to create a collider. So we choose the vertical pole, right? Add component, and then we look for capsule collider. Capsule collider. Okay. And then this capsule collider is created, but wow, it's super big, right? Okay, because of my base is like that. My vertical pole had a base that is pretty big in terms of the radius. Then you can change the radius, So I think it's 0.2. Double check. Zoom. No, it's 0.35. Yeah, I think 0.035. You do not want the collider to be touching the cloth at the initial state. Okay. I think 0.035 is okay. Yeah, give it 0.03 just to be more exact. Okay. So that's that. Okay. Then now if I were to, I'm going to choose this guy, and then go to the cloth. Sorry, go to the cloth. I'm going to push the external force in the opposite direction, just to see what happens. Okay, then I play. What? Oh, I haven't done something first. Okay, I have created a collider, but I have not let the cloth know that, hey, there is this collider that you need to factor in. So I forgot that process. Hold on. So the cloth, right? There is this portion that say capsule collider, right? You open this things up. The size, kind of strange that you call it size, but if you set it to 1, by default is 0. That means that I don't need to consider a collider. With 1 means there is one collider I need to care about, and so it opens up a parameter. And once you have that parameter, you can your vertical pole has a collider, right? You just pull this vertical pole from the hierarchy over here. And then now if I play, you will not cut through it anymore. See that? Or as compared to just now. Now, obviously, the human is still, it has no collider, no, at the moment it has no collider that is being related to the cloth yet. So we're going to solve that problem. The problem right now is in terms of, if you go to look at this third person controller, right? You go and search through all these guys. It's kind of difficult to find where the collider is. Even down here, right? This player amateur, it seems as though there's a collider, right? The strange thing is, okay, go. So it seems as though the collider is somewhere in this thing, right? You see there's a capsule thing, right? But the strange thing is, if I go to the cloth, right? This cloth, and I try to, instead of 1 now I say 2, right? Then there will be a second parameter, right? I'm just going to set this to none first. Okay, so the second parameter for a second collider, right? If I try to pull this player amateur that has that like looking, this capsule looking thing, right, to that particular parameter, it doesn't register. Okay, so somehow I don't know how they set this thing up lah. There's no so-called visible collider. So it's kind of strange how they do it, but I guess it's some kind of advanced scripting, which I do not understand. So what I did was I cheated. I add a component, add a capsule collider. So far, it doesn't seem as though it breaks the whole system. So that seems to work, but we need to change the sizing of this capsule. Right now, it's kind of weird. So I'm going to pull this thing upwards. Y is 1. Radius is 0.25. Yeah, I think 0.3. Yeah, 0.25 is good. Height is at, let's say, 1.7. Kind of roughly lah, huh? No need to be too exact. Okay. Then now, I should lock this guy so that I cannot touch it. So back to the cloth. Now I can pull this armature to this thing. And now if I play, and I try to walk my guy over to the cloth, you see, now it will interact with the cloth. Woo-hoo-hoo. Woo-hoo-hoo. Woo. Woo. Okay. So any questions? Where's my mouse? Okay, so that's that for the Unity cloth system. Okay, long. Anyway, yeah, that's how you can do this thing. So it all depends whether banners like this can be used for your assignment 1. But you do note that in you all need to read your briefs. Or it seems as though you all don't read briefs one. Or your like CA, like you see people give me 3 separate images of the tree. When I ask for 3, you need to have 3 different views of the tree, but you put it into one single image. Okay, obviously you use Photoshop lah. You just screenshot three different angles and then put into Photoshop and then save it as one image. If not, you also can use PureRef. That's not a problem. So that I only deal with one image, man. Ideally, it's PNG, because PureRef, how PureRef opens and stuff. It takes time, so you try to make life easy for your whoever is taking over your job, your job in the next work flow. So you should think like that lah. So, but more importantly is you all need to read briefs lah. Like, I don't know why you all lose marks for this. Yeah, I'm sticky about this because when you go out to work, right, the clients have briefs for you. There are specifications that you need to stick to. You don't read all these things and you keep on doing your work without caring about specs and all that stuff. Then in the end, you might not be able to meet the specs, or you overdo things and then you cost the company money. That's not good. So please read briefs. Okay, so in the brief for assignment 1, there is a mentioning that you have to include cloth. Yeah, but which kind of cloth you decide. How do you want a banner? You want a flag on the tower, whatever it is. That's entirely up to you. Okay. You want to use the Unity Systems cloth, or you want to use the Alembic Cache cloth, entirely up to you, whichever works better for your situation. Okay, I'll teach you the concepts and methods. How you apply it, it's really up to you. Can understand? Questions?
Not any from me at the moment.
Okay, if not, let's take a break and come back at 9. Let's just make it 9:55. Okay, I need a toilet break, and then we'll come back and then we'll do the second demo on the Alembic Cache, which I will record. That one is a bit more intensive. Yeah, because it involves Maya's enclave system, which might be something that you're more than likely you're unfamiliar to. And also there's this strange concept of how to blend cache clips so that it will make that flag animation, right, a seamless loop. Okay, so we'll come back at 9:55. Okay. No response. I'm going to go ahead, and then let me see. This one we want to record. Can I do it here? Record.
Recording in progress.
Okay, going to start off with the Alembic Cache method of doing cloth for Unity. So in Maya, I'm just going to start off very simple, how to create a end cloth and all that stuff. I'm just going to create a polygon plane. Actually, let me bring in the human character so that I can have a gauge of how big the plane should be, or the flag cloth should be. So I'm going to shift him to the side. Make it big, make it rotated. I think should be X. Yep. let's say scale like that. I'm going to move it upwards slightly just to test. Anyway, right now you see that this thing, the division has this kind of rectangular feel. We try to get it become more squarish. And also you need some divisions. If it's too low res, right, your thing is also not going to, your cloth is not going to move nicely. Right? It will feel very jaggedy. See, I think we need more, 25. Slightly more squarish now. Let's try 30. Yeah, this looks nice to me. Okay, so we're just gonna start with this one. I'm not gonna go too high poly. This guy, and then this guy can throw away with it. Just imagine there's a rod down here, a flagpole on this side. Okay, man, all these things you should go and freeze transform stuff. So delete history, freeze transform. Should this thing on this side? I think this should be good enough at that. If you want to be picky about it, DV, snap it all the way to here. And then what we need to do down here, you notice that there's these modules for Maya. You have been working mostly with modeling. Now you can go to FX. FX might be something new to you. But I don't want to dwell too much on this thing first, because there's a whole new subject by itself. Just that we're going to bank on this Ancloth thing of Maya. Okay, so you choose this plane, right? You go to Ancloth, create Ancloth. You don't need to worry about the box stuff. Just make it an Ancloth. Once you make an Ancloth, you notice there's two extra nodes, the Ancloth nodes and also the nucleus. Nucleus is like the brain. It's like what they in simulation effects, right? It's what we call the solver. Okay, so it's the brain that helps to think how things that is will work in physics with physics physics algorithm to affect all this kind of simulated stuff. Okay, the cloth, how stiff is the cloth, how does the cloth interact with itself and it collide with itself and that stuff. This happens in this Ancloth node. Let's turn on the wireframe. Okay, so now with this done, right? Okay, if I were to play, this thing will immediately start to fall because the nucleus has something, has a gravity. This gravity will actually affect this Ancloth. Okay, I can, yeah, okay. So let me just name this guy flag. Okay, so that another thing to take note of in Maya when you're dealing with simulation effects, right, is because of the fact that you're using simulation, you're asking Maya to analyze how to affect the different vertices of a mesh for each frame, where to place them and stuff. Okay, so when that happens, right, your playback speed cannot be 24 frames per second. It needs to be play at every frame. In order for Maya to be able to go every frame and then really calculate where exactly the vertex point should be for each part of the mesh. Because you see so many vertex points, man. Okay, so make very important when you're dealing with simulation effects, right, in Maya. Actually, for any software, you have to look for this play every frame thing. Okay, so after that is changed. Now if I play, you see that this thing will fall. Okay, so it's not acting like a flag right now because by nature flag, right? This thing one side is going to be like attached to a pole, right? So now I'm going to go to vertices. So imagine that there's an imaginary pole on this left side. I'm going to choose all these vertices here and then go and constraint. And constraint, there is something called transform constraint. Okay. In the source video that I listed in the notes, right? It looks different, but it's because it's the older Maya version. Okay, so just choose this one. And now when we play, you notice that it start to drop. Now, obviously down here, not enough time frame. We need to push this to 300 frames. And do take note for our purpose, right? For assignment, well, for your at least for your CA3, we need to have 300 frames on. Okay, then when you play it, it start to drop because of gravity. Now, then let's say we can choose the nucleus, right? There are parameters that you can play with to like add in like wind speed, wind direction. So the wind direction, we want a Y direction one also. Let's see. Let's not play with the noise first, and then we just play again. Just take note that when it comes to simulation, right, it needs to always start from the very first frame. And also, it might be good to actually start from frame 0. Okay, it's kind of the little quirks of simulation animation. Okay, now it seems to be working the way we want, but towards the end. Okay. So that's kind of weird. Like, I like the pattern at the end, but it's already at 300. So what can I do? So what we can do is also in the first place, right, at the very beginning, right, in real life situation, your flag will never be in this kind of situation, right? It's like, wow, so flat one, or in the real world, cannot be. So let's play this to the end and we say, oh, let's say I kind of like this shape. I want this shape to be the very first frame shape. So what we can do is we can choose this flag. Then we can go to fields and solvers, and there is something called initial state. So take note of this thing. The source video I listed down in the note, right? It doesn't have this part, so take note of this portion. So you can say set for selected. Once the initial state is set, when you go to the first, now you see this is at 285. This is how it looks like, the flag. You can, once you have set the initial state, right, the very first frame, which is frame 0, will look exactly like this. Okay, see that? Now it's at frame 0, it looks exactly like that. So that flat looking flag is no longer the first frame anymore. So now I can play, and then now it will flow. You get the idea? So important thing, I set initial state. This because it's not covered in the source video that I put in the notes. Okay, but now you notice, right? You see frame 0 and frame 300, right? When it jumps from frame 300 to back to 0, right? There is a jump, right? So it's not a continuous loop or a so-called infinite loop. Okay, we need to solve that. So how do we solve that? That will be the next thing to attack. Obviously, right now, this thing, how you want it to flow more and not stuff, you can still continue to play with all this stuff. That video, let me open up that link. See, yeah, I need to check where's my notes. Oh, I should have opened up my notes earlier. Try to find my notes. No, it's supposed to be here. All right. Weekly star flag, alembic flag loop. Open. What happened to my notes? Not showing up. Okay. So down here, you see this one, it will have further information on how to play around with the parameters of the nucleus, add in another few to make the flow of the flag look even more interesting. Okay, so you can watch this video, and then when it comes to the blending part, which is the next part that I'm going to show you, it will be from here. Okay, the second video clip. So take note of that, but both video clip doesn't show you about the initial state. So yeah, do take note of the initial state part. Okay. So now let's say I'm just say that, oh, this is something that I like. Okay, and then I want to export this out. Okay, basically right now you're still dependent on this nucleus, right? And the cloth to like analyze every frame to get the movement of the cloth. Okay, but you can cache this out. Cache is like baking out the information of where the vertices are in real-time space for every frame. Okay, so there is this thing called Ncache. So this to take note of, there's two different caching. There's Ncache and there's cache. In the cache, there's actually alembic cache. This is the one that we'll deal with later on the second part. This one is what we are dealing with for this portion. Okay, so Ncache, we can create a new cache and then say go N object, and then go the box. In your Maya project folder, there is actually a cache folder. Okay, so right now I'm just going to say this one is P03, your class. And then the cache name, I just put C. Okay, don't have something that's too long, because it's going to capture each frame. And if you have a long name, it just becomes looks ugly. Anyway, so that's that, and then cache format MCX is good. And then just create, and notice that it's going to start to bake. Start to bake the information. So make sure your start frame is 0, and then end frame is 300. And then now if I were to go to my Maya project folder, it's my Maya project folder, there is a cache, that's Ncache, P03, then you see something like this. I can throw away this guy already. And 3D, throw away, move to P. Yeah. Oh, you see every frame. Oops, sorry, this one. You have this thing. So 0 to 300. And then there's this XML. And basically, this one will help us to look at all these things and then how to interpret it. Okay. Any questions? Now, once that thing is done, right? Okay. If I were to let me save this file first, just in case. The last time I did this demo, I didn't, and I regretted it. Demo flag demo P03 for P03. Yep. Sorry. Now, if I were to throw away all this, like what we call dynamics nodes, right? It seems now the flag goes back to what it was before, and then when I scroll through, nothing happens. Okay, there's no animation at all. But if I were to choose this flag and then go to end cache, and I say, oh, can I append the cache? Oh no, attach the cache. And then I look for that cache, right? Go to cache, go to the end cache. I look for this guy and look for this c.xml open. It will read the XML file and then take note of all where the vertices is supposed to be in the world. Okay, and now I can play it. And there's no dynamics. Right now it's actually no, basically it's big memory or even though there's no dynamics, nodes still can move. Any question about that? In the first place, I think cache means some kind of memory. Okay, that's what it means. Questions? Now, when we have done this thing, right now we still have this issue of, okay, also right now by nature, when it was previously, right, when it's in dynamics mode, right, with the dynamic nodes, right, you cannot do this kind of thing, right? Because it has to evaluate the frame before and after in order to create the frame after, where exactly the points are. So you cannot like do this kind of like DJ scrolling one. But after it has baked the animation stuff, you can do this. The so-called the dynamics data, right? You can actually do this kind of scrolling DJ stuff. Okay. Let me see. So now your frame 0 and frame 300, right? When it goes from 300 to this thing, that jump thing is still there. How do we solve this problem? Okay, and also before that, this one need not be playing at every frame anymore. You can change to 24 frames per second. So now we can play it, and now it's a bit too slow lah. But you just take note that by right we should have adjusted this. Okay, this is just too slow. But anyway, for now I'm just going to play every frame first. I want to show you how to do the blend thing. See if I can do it smoothly. Okay, now is the part where it comes to the blending thing. So this is this part, okay, or this part. I'm wondering whether I should break this thing into